Sony saw something quite different.
It takes the brightest cheapest home movie ever.
For really smart, check out this Palm handheld from...
So we're gonna be talking about 6 different products that have been rebooted in some way or another over the years, all tech. So at some point, this is one of them. The Razr went from that in 2006 to this in 2024. Look at this beautiful, look at how much screen is on this thing.
Look at how much screen is on this thing.
Everyone knows the Razr. Did you ever have a Razr?
I didn't, but I remember a good friend of mine having one and him showing it to us in chemistry class in high school and being like, wow, phones can get that thin.
Yeah, so we're over here now in 2024, but this first reboot was much truer to the nostalgia, like the shape of it. It's wider, but I like that they kept like the curve on the top and the chin. That's what Razr is.
Yeah. In order to get this to actually fold, you can see right here the screen is moving and it's like pulling inside of this. And so this chin gives it room to like move.
This hinge was doomed to be temporary. I didn't realize it made noise like that. But now we have an outside screen that's much bigger. We have a big folding inside screen. Other than the logo, it feels like it doesn't have the nostalgia anymore. It's just one of the flipping phones.
We grew with the nostalgia. It's like when RuneScape changed to RuneScape 3, and then they had to bring back old school RuneScape, which is this, and then old school RuneScape now is having updates. So now it's a new version of the old version, and we're happy with it. We like old school RuneScape.
We like old school RuneScape.
I'm gonna take a picture of you liking old school RuneScape. When this first one came out, I wasn't hyped about it because the flip was so good, but I think this walked so this could run because the new Razrs are fantastic, and I'm happy we brought them back.
Yeah. The fact is, this one had all the nostalgia, but it was a bad phone.
Correct.
And then we got to these, which have I mean, look at that. Way less nostalgia.
So good.
But way better phone. So this one deserved it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Sick. Are you hungry?
Funny you ask.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes. Now we
let's
got
do
a plan.
it.
We got a plan.
Time for the most sketchy picnic ride of my entire life. So this is a Volkswagen Type 2 microbus. They initially introduced this car in the 1950s, and this right here is a 1967 model, so final model year before they introduced the next generation of this bus. It's quite special. Back in the day, you could have gotten this for like $3 grand. Now it's worth close to $300,000 just because these have become so valuable. It's powered by a flat 4 Volkswagen engine that's held in place by 4 bolts. Manual transmission, you got plenty of space here, and everything about this just screams analog. Just so analog.
And away we go. In a way, it's sort of like the exact opposite of an EV. Like, this is like the most gas a car could be.
Yeah, I mean, you really do feel everything. All right, so the Volkswagen ID Buzz is essentially an attempt to recreate this, but my God, this is so much easier to drive.
If you get closer, I think it's...
Where is it?
Go, 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 go. Let's go!
So just like the microbus that debuted in like the 50s, the general concept here is pretty simple, right? They want it to be spacious, comfortable, and have a very colorful, playful design that's approachable and cute and friendly.
All right, our design duo. What are your impressions of the new Volkswagen bus?
It's very roomy. Wait, no, my biggest complaint, out of everything in this entire vehicle, there are no cup holders in the cabin seats.
If you want a water bottle that conveniently fits in the cup holder of a 1967 Volkswagen bus, shop.mkbhd.com.
I can see where they took inspirations and some liberties. You know, it feels like the old one a little bit, but it's got some of the soul there, but not all of the flavor.
Volkswagen, they specifically told us that they wanted this car, at least from a design perspective, to be like the antithesis of the Tesla Cybertruck, in the fact that it's an electric vehicle that catches your eye, but in a way that your brain is much more willing to accept. You know, this thing's fully rendered. But one of the ways this screams more minivan than minibus is with the sliding rear doors. That does make it a lot more convenient to get inside. But we do have these sliding windows inside the doors that is a callback to the original bus that also has a similar opening mechanism. Overall though, there's not that much that reminds you about the original bus in terms of the interior, especially when you got features like this pretty sick electrochromic roof that you typically only find in like higher end sports cars and supercars and things like that. Everything about this car is pretty average. Average range for an EV, average power, pretty average technology. There's nothing revolutionary going on here. But when you look at this car from a bird's eye view, it's pretty much accomplishing all of the same goals as the original bus, which is comfort, convenience, and community.
By Fast and Furious logic, this is the fastest car ever because you can fit the most family in it.
Soundburger. Sound cringe. So the original Soundburger, aka Mr. Disc, which was written out on the unit as like M-I-S-T-E-R, Mr., was pretty much the only OG product that we didn't get for this video because it is so similar to the new one.
The good thing about this new version as opposed to the old version is the new one is Bluetooth. It's really temperamental with what speakers it wants to pair to and what speakers it just like works. Because when it works, it's awesome. Like we paired it, I played a Daft Punk record that Marquez has around because of course he does. And and it worked perfectly cool and I was just blasting it. It has a super long range. I got up to like the other side of the studio and it wasn't skipping at all, which was crazy.
Yeah.
But very sensitive. So I would put down like the record just like gently on the ping pong table next to it and the whole thing would kind of like skip a bit, but it was still really cool.
So the OG Soundburger, which doesn't have a cool lithium ion battery, it uses C batteries, which are big Chungus batteries. That's actually what the C stands for, Chungus.
Don't look it up.
Don't look it up. This new $200, what do we think OG Soundburger goes for on eBay?
Like I said, I know my friend paid like maybe $100 at a yard sale.
I would say sub 100.
What if I told you that they're going for in between 200 and 500?
What?
On eBay. I mean, it's classic.
Yeah, but you could get this one. It's the same thing.
It is the same thing. It was kind of hard to find details when I was searching around for it. I think there's a chance. If you know the answer, please leave it in the comments. I think there's a chance the old one may have had a slightly more accurate belt drive system. I think there's a small chance, but the modern quartz-based servo mechanisms could also be really dope. If you have the specs on the timing, let me know. But other than that, yeah, it's like the old one is this with no Bluetooth. Should Audio-Technica have raised this from the grave?
I think 100%.
It's such a great way to get started.
And again, $200. Like, and the form factor was great back in the 80s. It looks amazing now.
That's the thing. I feel like it's for the price. It's such a great like conversation piece too. Like to have in your living room.
Beautiful.
It's like music.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. What's in the box? I'm not good. I haven't even seen the movie.
All right, so this is Kodak's new Super 8 camera. Also, hi, I'm Eric. It's nice to meet all you. I'm the producer, one of the producers for this channel.
It was originally supposed to come out about 7 years ago. Got introduced at CES 7 or 8 years ago, and now it just finally came out.
Do you know what price they said this would retail at when they like initially showed it at that first CES?
Originally a couple $100s. So we got the new Kodak Super 8 camera, and then we've also got the Canon 310 XL. These are pretty different cameras because the Kodak Super 8 camera was sort of manufactured as a camera that gives you a lot more control, whereas a camera like this is something that's honestly just made for like families to be able to literally point and shoot.
In the context of smartphones, what is this, like iPhone set it up like you don't think about it, and like Kodak is like a Linux phone?
It's got a lot of controls that you don't have on that. on that camera, right? So you have actual like, you can change the frame rate to do 18 FPS 24 or 36 if you want.
Because this originally shot in 18.
The Kodak Super 8 camera has a lot of features that most Super 8 cameras just do not have. The biggest feature being that it has this LCD screen where you can actually see the footage of what's coming out the other side. As you can see, it looks like the Super 8 footage that you're gonna get. And the way that they do that is that they have ground glass that the light condenses in the lens and it goes through a ground glass, which makes it look like that.
Right.
And then it's passed to a CCD sensor that shows up on the LCD screen. I'm actually surprised that they didn't allow you to film on a memory card on this to get the same look as Super 8, because you can record sound, but you can't record video, which to me, if you're getting a video feed, you should be able to record a video feed.
Speaking of disappointments, as well as the SD card slot, if we could just show on the top down, let's run through the ports, because there's one port in particular.
Yeah.
One port that's probably worth talking about.
Okay, so this camera was originally supposed to retail for a few $100s. Now it retails for $5,500. You would think that something that was that expensive would have modern technology. Unfortunately, this has a micro USB port.
The reason that this reboot is so fascinating is you can shoot on the same film stock here.
Yeah.
Theoretically, the image quality is...
Theoretically, the image quality is the same, depending on the lens. It all depends on the lens. But I'm guessing this one will be a little bit sharper, and that's just gonna be because of the lens quality. But the film stock itself, exactly the same.
All right, so in terms of original versus reboot, this is tough because I think the idea of a modern Super 8 camera with a viewfinder, with the ability to record audio, like that's really, really appealing.
It is cool.
Like I want to root for this, but the price is just...
So the way that I see it is Kodak could easily, if they're selling this for $5,000 to $6,000, just have it at rental houses and then you rent it for a lot of money, right? And that makes sense for them because then they don't have to make nearly as many.
All right, so should it have stayed dead?
I think that the fact that Kodak innovated on the technology and like allowed for this like CCD sensor to like go straight to the screen is super cool. The menu system that they developed for it is actually really sweet.
Fun.
It's got this, it's basically an iPod, you know, like scroll wheel. I just think that they're only gonna really be selling it to rental houses.
The conclusion is super charming, but it's just not for...
It's not for consumers. It's not for consumers. But if you do want to get into the Super 8, literally just like look up a Super 8 camera on eBay and start shooting this stuff because it's not gonna be good quality, but that's also part of the charm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what else is charming?
Palm phone. Original Palm.
Sort of. Palm 3.
Palm 3.
Yeah.
Palm phone.
Let's start with the good one.
Yeah.
This was like back then awesome for calendars and it's Google, it's tasks. You would have had this.
This is the physical embodiment of
Yeah. All of your task apps, this is what you would have had. This was the best option back then. The stylus is fantastic. The alphabet graffiti writing is not easy. In fact, I'm gonna ask you if you can write your name.
Okay.
So you just write the letters down here. Yeah.
M is easy. A.
That's an F.
Q.
That's an S.
U.
Nice. But yeah, so how did we get from this, something that at the time in the late 90s was potentially the most amount of tech you could put in a handheld device, to this?
This is what happens when you sell your name and not the rest of what made you you.
The reason for this back then was like, spend less time on your phone, keep your phone in your backpack, have this in your pocket, and you can see the important things that come through. This is what the Humane Pin is trying to do.
I don't endorse this reboot at all.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
I think this happens to have the Palm name on it, and they were hoping that some nostalgia would rub off on them and people would be happy about using a Palm thing, but no.
I will say, when this came into the office, way more people were excited than when we pulled this out of the drawer.
Yeah.
You know what's better? You know what's better than that?
Oh, Walkman!
Jollibee.
Walkman. Oh, Jollibee is better than that. I got some spaghetti on the way, folks. All right, so first thing you need to know about getting a Sony Walkman, an original cassette Walkman, is that it could be very easy or it could be very hard. A lot of people like to think of these as sort of these simple devices that are easy to maintain and easy to work on. In a sense, it's a little true because at its core, it is a motor and some magnets and a radio and some amps and some. It's not actually that simple. The other thing that makes it sort of complicated is that Sony, in a lot of ways, reinvented the wheel on a lot of them. Not a lot of them share parts. And so keeping them alive is really tough. Mm-hmm. And buying them on eBay is a little bit of a crapshoot. And so for that reason, this Walkman came from a website called retrospect.com. We did a interview with them, go check it out. But that is how we got a Walkman we can confirm works. You have to appreciate that this is a 40-year-old thing with a ton of moving parts and magnets and amps and capacitors and all sorts of things that go bad. They go bad, you know? Don't expect it to play like an iPod. It's
like this?
Oh, God. Wait, someone explain what this is.
This is the new Sony Walkman.
Ugh. I made a video on this like a year and a half, 2 years ago. People got so mad.
Why?
Because I didn't like it.
Oh.
And here's the deal, okay? I've had time to sit with this thing now. And I think I might have gotten it wrong. If you don't look at this as a portable music player, if you look at it as a fully featured hi-fi digital to analog converter that happens to have a battery and you happen to be able to take it on the go,
and then it's happen to have an extra 2K just laying around.
Is it 2K? I thought it was just one. It's
1K.
Okay.
It is a nice audio product.
It's just not that.
Also, but it's not good as a piece of portable technology. Like, the screen is choppy, the buttons are bad, the controls don't make sense, it runs an old version of Android, it doesn't have very much internal storage.
This feels like an industrial designer just drew a rectangle and put gold accents, and you're like, yeah, I love it. And it's just like, there's nothing to this. Even the buttons kind of just suck. They're inset. Like, I wish they were, like, this is all out. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was just having a panic attack. Also, who does rounded and sharp corners? Like, pick your design language. Why is it because this goes in my hand and it's rounded? But like, this gives me no emotions at all. Nostalgic aside, this is like, who doesn't like pressing buttons? The accessibility between these two is so vastly different. Like, my dad had one of these. I could buy one of these realistically from Retrospect, like you said, for, I think,
under 300.
Under $300, which is still great.
If they would bring back a cassette player version of this, I think I would like it more. So like that would make more sense to me than bringing this device back, as good as it may be for some people, and calling it a Walkman, because I don't think this is a Walkman.
Do I appreciate this thing more for loving the past? Yes.
Will you buy it for $1,000?
Absolutely not. But it has Angry Birds. That was Sony v. Sony. But if you want to see us live in the past more, you can watch Mariah and I play with dumb phones that aren't smart.
I was in that too. Somewhere up here.